We blast live. We're talking about what you're talking about.
You all ready for this?
Mm-hmm.
Dun, 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 dun.
This is a sham.
No.
Nope.
Y'all, just stop.
Get real.
Welcome to DBL. We're so grateful you're joining us. All right, we're going to start talking like we do, the three of us, really off camera, to be honest. This is what we talk about, life topics, philosophy, and this is cancel culture canceled. I think it's something we would just chat about. That's what one Fox News anchor is now asking after Louis C.K. won a Grammy for Best Comedy Album on Sunday. So Louis was, quote, canceled and cut out of comedy over sexual misconduct, but has since come back to win this prestigious award. Now, a lot of folks were very upset by this. One person tweeted, "The Grammys are a great reminder that cancel culture doesn't exist and no white dude has ever been successfully canceled for anything terrible that they do." So we want to open the floor to you guys. We're going to open there to the panelists. What do you all think? Is the cancel culture pendulum, y'all know how I love my pendulum, swinging back the other way? And is this a good thing? Very deep conversation, but one I've been thinking all morning, what are they going to say?
Well, I think that we've had this conversation before in terms of the idea of being, quote, canceled. Like, people come out of the woodwork on all different places. Those people may not necessarily be your audience. They may not necessarily be the people who have been supporting you or even the sponsors or vendors that may be behind you. So the idea of cancellation, especially in the genesis of it, had to do with these egregious predatory acts that were systematically in place and also were supported by these legions of people that were uncovered, right? So there was kind of like, there was more of a template for it to get to where there was. But the truth is, the idea of being canceled only comes down to who's willing to support you with their dollars.
That's what I've always said. I feel like
Comes down to money.
It comes down to your fans. When somebody gets successfully canceled, it means you didn't have that many fans. You know who they can't cancel, Erica? Tucker Carlson. Tucker Carlson said some stuff on television, not like caught on a hot mic. He said it, and they've lost sponsorships. He's gone on, they give him a 2-week vacation, but he's always back. You know why? Because his fans ride with him, no matter what. R. Kelly, they didn't cancel his last concert until he was in jail. He was still selling tickets right up until the end. And it's hard because when we start talking about cancellation on this show, we can talk broadly about kind of people that you could give or take. Canceling somebody that you really care about, it's a personal inner, like when Kanye was saying that the stuff about slavery is a choice, and I was like, in my head, I was like,
hurts.
It hurt me so much. I was like, I have to remove this man from my life. Started taking him off playlists, but it's like, as I looked, he's interwoven in my entire 30s.
Right.
That's, so like, how do I do that?
Well, let me ask you this. I get what you're saying about fans. If you have that base, you can rise up. But what about nominating, even nominating, let alone winning, a Grammy for it, right? Like, should that have been canceled? And I know Louis C.K. is a comic. Do you think he should have been up for that award?
Well, we should say, and this is straight from Michael Dean, the Grammys have different
code of conduct. You're absolutely
They just go, do you meet the criteria for your art to be judged?
Exactly.
So
they separate. You're absolutely right.
So,
you're absolutely right.
When it comes to Louis, my question is, we always talk about having an on-ramp, and I want to throw this at you, Erica. What's Louis' on-ramp? Because he hasn't re-perpetrated any crimes that we know of. But it seems like the hatred for him is still, or the public, people are still just as mad as they were on that day. What do you think is different about Louis, as opposed to other people that have, like, Kevin Hart had a special called "I Really Messed That Up" after he got caught.
Right.
So, like, why Louis?
I don't know, Al.
It's weird.
To be really honest, it's also interesting with some of these people, like a Louis C.K., because I think he was such a polarizing figure even before everyone found out that he was a sleazeball. So it's almost like if you're leaning into one side of that spectrum because people thought that about you anyway. And keep in mind, people thought that about him and supported his work.
Yeah.
You know, so is there much of a difference for a lot of people who might still be supporting him?
Yeah, and also what you said is Kevin Hart came out with, what was the name of it? I really messed.
Yes, basically, I think there was some profanity in there,
Okay.
but that's the gist of it.
But that's the difference is he came out and said, I messed this up.
But he was caught when a friend leaked the tape. He didn't come out and say, I can't bear this on my conscience. He got caught.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I've never met Kevin. He seems like a super great guy. I don't want to see anybody get canceled. He had those tweets that cost him the Oscars. I don't want to see him get canceled for that. He had an on-ramp back. So I'm like, where's Louis' on-ramp? And
Well,
why
it seems
doesn't he
like,
have one?
to me, Kevin apologized and showed contrition, and that's not what, to me, what Louis C.K. did very well.
Interesting.
And I think maybe that's a key to at least part of the puzzle of opening back your road to redemption. Did that analogy work?
Yeah.
Road. Okay. All right. If cancel culture really is canceled, this should be a good thing for Will Smith, although there is talk that his talent agency is now considering dropping him because of the fallout from his Oscar slap. Meantime, Amy Schumer did a stand-up show in Vegas over the weekend. That's where the Grammys were. And she called what happened just a bleepin' bummer. She then went on to reveal the Oscar jokes she says she wasn't allowed to say on TV, including this one, saying, quote, "Don't Look Up" is the name of a movie. More like Don't Look Down the Barrel of Alec Baldwin's Shotgun. I gotta be honest, I'm kind of glad that didn't make it.
Yeah.
I don't think that's a funny joke. I don't think it's clever, and I think a family's grieving. I know I sound annoying, but to be honest, I'm very glad that didn't make the show.
Well, one, I have to question the context or how she said it.
Yeah.
Because I think I want to know that. I want to at least hear that for myself. But also, were these really jokes that didn't make the Oscars, or was that just how she was playing it? Because to me, it seems like that's how she was playing it, and I could think of other comedians who kind of use that formula, and it works really well. Like, this is what I wasn't going to say, or this is what I couldn't say.
Right,
and then they say it, you
like
know?
it's just kind of saying it like that.
That's a great way to put it, Erica. And honestly, you know, I look at this and I think it illustrates what I've always said. And it's like, good jokes and bad jokes come from the same place.
Totally.
It's literally the same person making jokes about basically the same subject, was the Oscars. Some of them, we were talking pre-show about how great some of her jokes were.
Totally.
And we're doing one on the show about how bad it is. And it's the same person, basically the same topic, Hollywood. Some jokes hit and some don't.
Right, but you know, that's the reason why context is so important to hear it. And obviously, Al, you know this, but I'm thinking, was it that it was a fault, like it was a purposeful thing to say, like, oh, this is what I couldn't say on the Oscars, to be like, yeah, don't say that.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
type thing. Like, was the joke in the idea that she couldn't say it, even
Part
though
of it.
it wasn't even
I see what-
likely
I
a
don't
joke
even
that
know
was
if
up for
couldn't
discussion.
say it is the right term. Probably didn't make the cut.
Yeah.
You know, for time constraints, or just like it didn't make the line for the best jokes we want to say. So a lot of people will do this after the Oscars are over. I've seen comics do this, or award shows. They'll go on and tell the jokes in a comedy club because those jokes are still relevant.
They're still relevant at the same time, yeah. Well, Amy Schumer, we still thought you were absolutely hilarious. And the ones that made it were funny as heck.
Shooms.
Shumi! I don't know her. Coming up on DBL, talk show queen Ricki Lake. Oh my Lord. She tells us all about her legendary career and her new documentary. Plus, Dr. Coley's here to talk about the latest medical headlines. When will it be time to get another booster shot? We get a boost from the doc coming up next.
Closed captioning provided by
What's going on? So guess what, we're gonna do a preview. This is Jameson. How cool is he?
Hello.
He's an awesome producer, and I want to get your opinion. So start writing in on the 4-day work week. A lot of places in Europe, in Nordic, in Sweden, in Finland, in the Scandinavian, they've gone to the 4-week work week.
And a lot of companies here are testing it now.
See if it's more productive for the Sweden. I like saying that.
Yeah.
For the people's productivity, it could actually make people work harder or smarter. So we'd love to get your take. It's an old school change, though. A lot of you out there are like GM, you know what I mean? Like you were in a good work week, 5 days a week, and that makes sense to you, and 4 days seems super lazy. So write us in so we can get your opinions. Also, do I look too matronly with my hair back?
It's giving me a very pianist teacher.
Oh no,
love
that's
it.
not what I wanted.
I think it looks really
And then Tori.
Spanish. He said piano, not
very
Spanish.
taskmaster.
Oh, God, I gotta take it down. We gotta take it down, Destiny. Should I make my hair person stylist crazy? I think it looks too much like I'm blaming you for
You should be knitting the flag of a new
trigonometry.
School marm.
Yeah. I'm gonna take it down.
And then if we have time, we're going to be talking about plastic in our diets. Apparently,
It's in our blood for the first time.
Yeah, we're
Microplastics. I know about this.
consuming a credit card
Your
worth
what?
of plastic
a
every
year.
week.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if we have time, but
I
that's
thought you were going to say every year.
No, every week.
Did y'all hear that? Well, if you didn't, you got to stay tuned to DBL. Erica is half blind. She's going to figure this out, though. I know it.
Are you okay? Do you need Q-tip?
We have 4 minutes.
No,
Is it the glue?
yeah, it glued my bottom lap.
She's like a
down.
surgeon.
I got to run back to the booth.
Welcome back here to offer her diagnosis on the headlines. Because she's a doctor.
I like it.
All right, everyone's talking about Page. Hello, pager, Dr. Pyle Coley. Hello, Doc. Good to see you.
Hi, Tori.
Someone wrote me about that, by the way. They're like, please stop using that trucker thing.
Did they really?
Yeah. Doc, let's get right down to it. Pharmacies across the nation, they've started administering the 4th doses of the COVID vaccine. How long do these booster shots last?
One of the reasons that the experts are so divided on this 4th dose is because we don't think they last very long. We think it'll last about as long as the 3rd dose, which was about 10 weeks. So how many times are we going to keep doing this? Every few weeks, are we going to get more of the same? And I'm really frustrated because I had hoped that the companies would have come out with an Omicron-specific booster by now, and it seems like more of the same. So if you're particularly high risk, I would say go ahead and get that 4th dose, but for most people, I'm not sure it's the right thing to do right now.
You've disappointed the doctor. That's not good.
They know what they did.
Yeah, they know what they did. That's not good.
Well, another headline that we've been talking about is Bruce Willis because he is retiring because of his battle with aphasia. So what is aphasia and how common is it?
Aphasia is a really, really hard illness, guys. It's not that common, only about 2 million patients in the United States, but it's an inability to produce language or to understand language. And if you think about language, it's so fundamental to who we are, our personalities, and how we interact with each other. So there's a few different types. There's an expressive aphasia where you can't express what you want to express. You're just kind of struggling to find
mom.
the words. She has that?
She has that one. It's so frustrating.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah.
And then there's a receptive aphasia where you can't understand and you're talking and talking, but it's called a word salad because it's a bunch of words that don't make sense together. And then there's some combinations of the two. There's trouble reading, trouble writing. And they say that if you have aphasia, you can actually have impacts on your cognitive ability because you can't think, you can't organize your tasks. You guys work on television. How frustrating must it be as a TV person to not be able to say the words you want to say?
Yeah, I can't imagine, especially when that's kind of how the people know you.
Yeah, my mom's a talker. She can't get out like my name.
Right. Oh,
sometimes,
really?
and you're like, oh God, this
I didn't know it was that bad. I'm
Yeah,
sorry
no,
about
it's
that.
okay, but it's just like very strange when you can't get out. And she's known to be a
How
talker.
often is it?
All the time,
Every time you
especially
talk
at
to her?
night. It's usually when they get tired. My mom, at least, she gets tired.
Well, and what's interesting about aphasia is you can still sometimes curse, you can sing, because that part of our language is connected to emotion, so it comes from a different part of our brain. But just regular communication sometimes is very challenging, and there's not a lot of great treatments.
Right.
There's, obviously speech training that you can do, and families learn how to communicate, but so difficult to hear about this diagnosis.
Yeah.
Well, Doc,
Isn't that
I was going to say.
No,
please.
it's so crazy the power of music. One of our
Music.
kiddos has a severe speech impediment, but when I ask him just to slow down and sing it to me,
Yes.
it's completely perfect.
Yeah.
Different part of the brain.
That's interesting.
Crazy.
That's fascinating. Well, let's talk about something that I think a lot of people are going to be happy about. 4-day work week. All right? Yes, we can clap for that. Now, a bunch of companies are trying a 4-day work week. So just want to know, what are your thoughts? Do you think a shorter week is better, just 4 days on, almost like a paramedic?
Well, I'm wondering where the science was when I was in training. Because I worked 80 to 120 hours a week, and I had hoped for something like this. So I think the spectrum has really shifted to try to strike that balance, because we've realized stress, burnout, anxiety, depression, substance use is all a function of our lifestyle. The good news so far, guys, the data seems very promising that the 4-day work week not only boosts levels of happiness, reduces stress and burnout, but also maintains productivity.
Right.
Which is that really important piece, because, you know, that's a U-shaped relationship. So you don't want to be on this side where you're not working at all, because it actually dismotivates you to do things. But if you're doing too much, you don't have any time for yourself, that can certainly have effects as well.
That's what I want to do to my employees. Break them.
Yeah, break them down.
So
break
are
them
we
down.
going 4 days a week?
He's going 8. He's going 8. All right. So new research, this is freaking me out. It's showing that we consume a lot of plastics. We found them in our bloods, right? Well, it's about a credit card's worth of plastic we're taking in each week. How is this affecting our health? Is there any way we can avoid ingesting this plastic?
This is scary, right?
Yeah.
Because it's part of our food chain. If we drink from plastic bottles, which I do all day long, you actually end up getting up like 90,000 plastic particles a year if you drink 2 liters of those water bottles. Not much we can do about it, unfortunately, because it's everywhere. It affects the people that have chronic gastrointestinal disease the most. But what it does when we eat those little pieces of plastic is it creates an inflammatory response in our gut that changes the bacteria that can cause conditions like cancer. So just to be more mindful to not use as much plastic containing products when we're warming up our lunch or drinking water.
Yeah, glass or something else. Okay, wow. Thank you for that. So good to know. And if you have a question you'd like to ask Dr. Coley, just write to us.
What about a 3-day work week?
Okay. I thought you were breaking your employees down. Or info@dailyblastlive.com. Thanks again, Doc. We'll be right back.
At Verify, we answer your questions about what's true or false. One of our viewers asked us, are members of Congress allowed to hire their family members? To answer that question, we went to these sources: the United States Code of Laws, the U.S. House Ethics Manual, the Federal Election Commission, and a memo from the Department of Justice. Since 1967, the U.S. Code has banned nepotism in the federal government. It says a public official may not employ in the agency which he is serving any individual who is a relative. And it applies to executive agencies, federal courts, and legislative offices. That's Congress. Members have to submit monthly reports showing no relatives are on their staff, according to the House Ethics Manual. So we can verify, no, members of Congress are not allowed to hire their family members to federal positions. However, they can hire them to their campaigns, and that's not exactly rare. Members of both parties occasionally have spouses or other relatives as campaign staffers. Campaigns are paid for by donations, not taxpayer money, so they're governed by different laws. Okay, now you might be thinking, well, what about the White House? Didn't President Trump hire his daughter Ivanka and his son-in-law Jared Kushner? Well, he did, and even though he didn't pay them for their roles, that's actually not why it was allowed. The Trump White House asked the Department of Justice to weigh in on the issue, and the DOJ determined that the office of the president specifically is exempt from that anti-nepotism law. The DOJ lawyer argued a different law from 1978 carved out that exception. That law states the president is authorized to appoint employees in the White House office without regard to any other law regulating employment in government service. And in fact, Trump isn't the first president to exercise that authority. President Bill Clinton appointed his wife Hillary to chair a healthcare task force in 1993. With your Verify, I'm Casey Decker.
The truth is a hard pill to swallow, and our next guest sat down with us to talk about behind the scenes of the birth control industry, as well as her incredible on-air career. Check out our very fun interview with the Ricki Lake. Please welcome, big round of applause for Ricki.
Yeah.
Our audience members are commenting how gorgeous and fabulous you look.
But we said that during the break.
We
Full
did.
disclosure. You
We
look
did.
amazing.
Thank you. Oh my God, I'm tired, and my hair is in a hat right now because I wore it. You know, it's all flat. But yeah, I thank you. I'm 53, and I feel good about what I got going on.
Bravo.
I love it. I love it.
And speaking of your hair, Ricki, you've been very open about your own hair loss journey, and we just wanted to get your quick take on the whole Jada Pinkett Smith. What did you think about the joke?
I mean, to me, any joke about women's hair loss is not funny, you know, and anyone who hasn't been, when you don't struggle with that, you don't really know the pain. And I really do know Jada's pain, but what went on was so uncalled for. It was criminal. And nothing anyone says out of their mouth deserves physical altercation ever.
Just one bad decision. It's terrible.
Well, speaking of your show, Ricky, big fan. I can't believe I'm talking to Ricky Lake. You debuted in 1993. You were the youngest person to ever host a talk show. Bravo. When you look back at that 1993 Ricky right there, what's going through your mind right now?
Well, to me, I just remember they wanted me to look older. They wanted me to look as mature as possible. So they put me in those big shoulder pads and they poofed my hair. I mean, they wanted to see that I could have a little credibility by making myself look older. But yeah, I was 23 when I did the pilot, we're coming up on the 30-year anniversary of the pilot.
It's hard to believe that show was on the air, for over 10 years. Like, what's the biggest difference that you see between yourself? Because it's hard to look back at yourself. Like, what's the biggest differences you see in you in those 10 years?
Huge. I mean, I have evolved. it's funny that I had that platform at such a young age because I really didn't have a sense of who I was. I was pretty, fear-filled, and I'm much more open-minded now. I'm way, for example, I think about, I made a documentary a few years ago about cannabis called Weed the People, where I focused on medicinal cannabis and children's cancer. Back then, I was a disciple of Nancy Reagan. I was like the just say no girl. I was super closed-minded and fear-filled about psychedelics and all things like that, and I've changed the course of my thinking in these later years.
Bravo. I was going to say they evolved. I think the whole world's evolved on that, hopefully. Now, you are the EP, bravo, first of all, executive producer of the documentary The Business of Birth Control. And my experience from my mom when I talk about birth control for her in the 60s is that it pushed the feminist movement so far forward because women could finally have sex on their choice for pleasure, right? So to me, as a feminist, I am so proud of the history of the pill, but I'm so interested. What was your own experience with the pill like?
Well, for me, I was on it for more than 2 decades. And for me, I now look back on my hair loss as being a huge contributing side effect to being on the pill and going off the pill. I didn't have a lot of issues with my mental state, but so many women do. And, the bottom line is we are all still taking our grandmother's pill from 60 years ago. So I think, this movie that I'm so proud of that we've taken 7 years to make, it really looks at the history of the pill, where it was studied when it was first developed. And we're so grateful to have this option, but we really think we need more options. Women suffer with, terrible side effects that they don't even know are contributed to the pill because they don't have that time with their care provider to know what the pros and cons are with all of these medications.
I'm a father of a 15-year-old daughter, so I need to know, along with the audience, what is the best way to protect these young women's lives? Just learning about this kind of stuff, and myself, because I want to be fluent when I speak with her about this.
Yeah, I think for us, we talk about, fertility awareness method, non-hormonal options that are out there. There's a whole movement with young women that don't want to be on an endocrine disruptor. They want true body autonomy. They want to understand their cycle. And there's this whole wave of young people that are learning through technology, through the apps. There's the Clue app and lots of different ways in which you could track your cycle, learn how your body works, when in fact you're fertile. And I think, when you're not relying on a big pharmaceutical, that can be super empowering for young people.
We need more options. We need more, right? Thank you.
There's that male pill, that male birth control pill coming down the pike, and I'm really, I'm cautiously optimistic. I really don't know whether men would take a pill like we've had to for forever. But I like to think, that it should maybe rely on the men somewhat, and that since they're the ones that can get people pregnant every day, all day, and we can only get pregnant a few days out of the month.
Amen. Thank you so much,
What a pleasure, Ricky.
So
Thank
good.
you.
Congratulations on your
thank you.
documentary, Your Marriage Mazel. That will help so many. DBL Nation, you can pre-order The Business of Birth Control now. And if you're a father and don't know a lot, or a mother, this could be so educational for you. It'll be available on digital platforms starting April 8th. Ricky, such an honor. Really, we're all huge fans.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. We'll be right back. Thanks, Ricky.
Promotional consideration is brought to you by
Last week, the FDA approved a second COVID booster for adults over 50. The initial 2-dose COVID vaccine and now a second booster for older adults and people with compromised immune systems rolled out pretty quickly. That group is now on their 4th shot, while the youngest Americans haven't received their first shot yet. So now some parents are wondering, What's taking so long? Viewer Ann Haven wanted me to look into it. She said, my 2 children, ages 6 and 11, got the COVID shot months ago, like in December. We're still waiting for my 4-year-old to get vaccinated. Shouldn't the vaccine for kids under 5 be out already? Is there a holdup? Well, let's verify. Our sources, Dr. Christopher Ohl with Atrium Health, Wake Forest Baptist, and Dr. Janet Woodcock, the FDA's acting commissioner. We'll start with the FDA and the 4,500 children as young as 6 months that are enrolled in Pfizer's COVID vaccine study. The initial data shows the children were either given a placebo or 2 doses lower than 3 micrograms. The children in the study who had the 2 doses tolerated them, and Pfizer planned to seek emergency use authorization in February. But Pfizer decided to push that back until they received the full data after 3 doses. That data is expected this month. Now, Dr. Woodcock is the FDA's acting commissioner and confirmed it was Pfizer's decision to wait for the full results of the 3-dose study, which should be available by April. Dr. Ohl explained why waiting for all the data is so important.
The antibodies that were developed, instead of going up to here, went up to here. And so the antibody response to the 2-shot series in the youngest kids wasn't as high as what we would have hoped as it was for the older kids.
So we can verify, yes, originally Pfizer planned to seek emergency use authorization in February. And yes, there is a delay in the vaccine for the nation's youngest Americans. That delay could end any day now, since the data from the 3rd dose is set to be collected this month.
President Joe Biden unveiled his budget proposal earlier this week. Shortly afterwards, he posted this tweet, quote, "This year, my administration is on track to cut the deficit by more than $1.3 trillion. That would be the largest one-year reduction in the deficit in U.S. history." So let's verify. Would a $1.3 trillion reduction in the deficit be the largest single-year reduction ever? We looked at data from the Federal Reserve and the Congressional Budget Office. Both agencies track every year how much the federal government takes in and how much it spends. The difference between those numbers comes out either as a surplus or, more commonly, a deficit. The Fed has numbers going back to 1901, the CBO to 1962. Both sets of data show that the largest one-year reduction in the deficit ever was in 2013. That year, the deficit shrank by $396 billion. That's a lot, but still nowhere near the $1.3 trillion decrease Biden projected. So we can verify, yes, if the deficit shrinks by $1.3 trillion this year, that will be the largest single-year reduction in history. With your Fast Fact, I'm Casey Decker.
Welcome back. Many Americans have gained weight during the pandemic. I didn't know I'd be attacked like that. But as the world opens up, more of us are starting to participate in social activities. That's today's Focus on Fitness, presented by QB. Data shows that 16 states now have obesity rates of 35% or higher. That's an increase of 4 states: Delaware, Iowa, Ohio,
Cleveland,
and Texas in just 1 year. However, the good news is physical activity can help you lose weight. QB's a great way to get some quick exercise regardless of physical ability or age. Try their under-desk elliptical at home. Call 1-800-556-2089 or visit QB.com to learn more. We're so grateful you joined us today. Join us later tomorrow. Bye.